Asylum seekers are sharing their side of the story, explaining why they're not eating the food.
Residents here point to pasta covered in grease and meatballs still frozen in the middle.
Let's go.
New York City pays over $30,000 a day for meals that are supposed to feed asylum seekers living in this hotel, but instead those meals are winding up in the garbage. Why is that happening?
This is all food. This is fresh. This is good food.
Demand at a food pantry in the Bronx is greater than ever before. But city budget cuts have limited the amount of people the pantry is able to help.
More than 1,000 New Yorkers who help to keep our city parks clean are expected to lose their jobs. This is one of many impacts of budget cuts announced last month.
This migrant crisis is far from over, and just last week, more than 3,800 migrants arrived here in the city.
So videos of prepared meals being thrown away, those are incredibly disturbing for several reasons. First, those meals were supposed to go to asylum seekers, many of whom have come to New York City by bus from the southern border, but for some reason they never made it. They went into the garbage instead. Perhaps the meals were inedible, or maybe the recipients just didn't want them, or maybe they were never distributed in the first place. We're gonna figure that out, but there's another reason this is disturbing, and that's because you've got 1.2 million New Yorkers right now who are struggling to feed themselves and their families, and the food pantries that they rely on are running out of resources. Yet there's food in the trash at the exact same time, which also doesn't make a lot of sense, especially when the mayor is making massive cuts to the fire department, the police department, and school programs, and funding to charities that help feed hungry people living in New York. And the reason these cuts are happening is because the city is struggling financially under the weight of an asylum crisis and a mass epidemic of homelessness. There are over 100,000 people right now living in the city's shelter system, and it's at capacity.
Now, I'm not in a position to tell anybody how to run a city. I'm not. I'm actually not that great at running a business. All right. I'm not that great at managing my own finances, to be honest with you. I try to do what I can based off of my own level of intellect and patience and organization and discipline. So I'm not going to say too much about this, but one thing I will say is that there's a poop ton of people in New York who are paying taxes, and there's a bunch of resources that should be disseminated to the people of New York from that tax money. All right, those resources should be made available to people who need the resources. And those people should get the resources before any illegal immigrants receive it, because they are taking away more than they are adding to, okay? The people who are adding to should get the resources. The people who've been here longer and are actual citizens should get the resources. There's no way in the world, if there's a starving individual, if there's a hungry person, a hungry family in that city of New York or anywhere in the United States, they should not go without a meal. But yet in all of their trash cans, the dumpsters around the city, there's uneaten new food that was supposed to be for them. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm jumping the gun, but this young man is covering it, and based off what he said, I'm not liking what I'm hearing.
And just last week, more than 3,800 migrants arrived here in the city. More than 150,000 migrants have passed through New York City's shelter system since last spring, with more than 67,000 migrants currently in the city's care.
That's an incredible amount of people, and most folks are arriving here at this bus terminal in Midtown. 3,800 people a week? That's almost 16,000 people a month coming to America seeking asylum. And not only are the folks arriving here in need of food, so are many New Yorkers. And that's why the idea of food being thrown away is pretty crazy, especially when it's thousands of dollars a day. It doesn't make any sense until you start digging. So here we are at the Row Hotel, and videos have come out from whistleblowers of thousands of dollars of food that looked perfectly good being thrown away at this very same building.
This is bags and bags of food being thrown away. This is all food that is going to waste. This is insane. This is fresh. This is good food. Good food.
This looks really bad for a whole bunch of reasons. But first, it's important to understand that the Row Hotel is a 1,300-room former luxury hotel, 44th Street, 8th Avenue, right by Times Square. It opened in 1928, which makes it 96 years old. But around 2020, it went bankrupt. And in 2022, the owners of the hotel signed a contract with the city to turn this building into an emergency shelter. But part of running the hotel as a shelter means feeding those inside. And although this part of Midtown is surrounded by places that can prepare food, they didn't use local businesses to prepare food for the people they need to feed. No, they got the food somewhere else. And although on the surface, reports of wasted food make it seem like the people inside the hotel were ungrateful, for the free meals, there's potentially something else going on here. According to the New York Times, the meals that were thrown away are from a medical services company called .go. And apparently this same contractor used to provide viral tests when those were in high demand here in New York, and now they've switched over to providing asylum seeker services of various kinds. Apparently their contract with the city is worth $432 million, and there's some sort of investigation going on. And apparently this was a no-bid contract, which essentially means that the company being asked to provide the services was the only company being considered. So whatever price they came up with, it's kind of like take it or leave it. And according to the New York Times, the company's being investigated for the potential mistreatment of asylum seekers in its care. And the video the whistleblower took at this facility is from 11 months ago, but this New York Times article, this is from about a week and a half ago. So the story is still taking place. It's an ongoing issue. And what's crazy is the amount of money wasted food winding up in the trash is costing the city. The city's contract with .go has the meals pegged at $11 each. And from October 22nd to November 10th, over 70,000 meals provided by this company were thrown away, which means that $776,000 worth of resources that could have helped somebody, anybody, even just one person here in New York, helped nobody and ended up in one of these things. And since the amount of wasted food is almost $40,000 a day, after 30 days you're looking at over $1 million in wasted meals.
Asylum seekers are sharing their side of the story, explaining why they're not eating the food.
Residents here point to pasta covered in grease and meatballs still frozen in the middle. They're pushing back today after shelter staff told the New York Post they were wasting tax dollars.
Okay, for $11 each, I think people could expect better quality than what appeared in that video. And if that's what they're serving people, no wonder folks are complaining. Maybe the quality's just inconsistent. The whistleblower's videos shows perfectly good meals in the trash. These videos show low quality, partially defrosted, airplane-style TV dinners that I don't think anybody wants to eat. But it's also recently come to light that not every meal the city pays for gets eaten. And that's because the city is estimating how many meals they need and buying them ahead of time.
Let me tell you something. As long as there's a microwave, we need to not be so damn picky. I'm letting you know that right now. If these meals are being delivered to anyone who don't have anything to eat, then they better shut the hell up and eat it. That's how I look at it. Oh, they're greasy? Shut the hell up and eat it. The meatballs are a little frozen? Warm it the hell up. Now, if you don't have a microwave and they're just giving this to people out there on the streets, I don't know what to say other than that. But even still, if you're on the street and you receive that, shut the hell up and eat it. I'm sorry. Unless there's some chemicals in it that will kill you, unless there's some, I don't know, animal feces in it or anything like that. If it's not edible, then don't eat it. If it's edible, you need to shut the hell up and eat it. If you have nothing else, I'm sorry, you got to do that. When I was younger and when I was a teenager, and I'm telling you, I'm not telling you this for any type of victimization points or anything like that. It's simply my guardian used to take me and my brothers to her friends' houses for different weeks. I mean, for weeks we would go and just go visit her friends, and she would have conversations with them for however long she needed to have them, just so that after the 2 hours, 3 hour visit, while me and my brothers are there with her, and we're teenagers at this time, she would ask them for noodles or canned goods or sardines, whatever the case, whatever she can get from them so that she can feed us, okay? Now, my guardian, she wasn't capable of going out and working a job, and she really didn't trust us being out there in DC streets handling that type of business either. And we were trying our best to be good kids. We weren't trying to be on the block selling this, that, and the third, whatever we couldn't, whatever other people was out there selling. All right. And as far as getting a job is concerned, during the summer times, we got jobs. And in our older neighborhood, it was easier for me to go to the gas station and pump gas, or to wash windows, wash people car windows, or even then we knew our neighbors, and I could knock on doors and take their trash out and go to the store for them and keep the change, those type of things. But I'm saying all that to say this. If we would have received these type of meals, we would have had to just shut the hell up and eat them rather than just throw them in the trash. Now, I don't understand why all of these meals are being thrown in the trash. Maybe I'm completely missing the point. I have before. I'm not the type of thinker that most people are. But I'm certain that once I understand it, then I will be more on point. But at the end of the day, if these meals are being given to anyone, they need to just eat these bad boys, man.
And that's why some of what doesn't get eaten ends up in the trash either way. But the people who are being served the food, they're the ones saying that it's the quality. It's not the fact that it was available or not.
This mom of two says sometimes the food smells bad, rotten, and every time the children eat the food like that, they get food poisoning.
Now, what I'm not too sure about is why people would say the food is terrible and claim that it's making them sick if it's not. What could possibly be the end game to that? But if you've ever eaten somewhere and gotten food poisoning, your desire to go back to that place is not at all on the table. You're probably not going back. You don't want to take any chances. That's not where I ate. I actually ate at Chipotle. I haven't been back since. And if people were going from this hotel's cafeteria straight to the hospital, it's no surprise that folks are being a little extra careful. And the New York Times also reports this company lowered their meal prices to around $7 from $11. How they were able to make those price reductions isn't